This is going to be our trigger point release technique for the lats. Now the lats run down the side of the body from the arm down to the hip and cover most of the upper back. And they're used in key movements like throwing and pulling movements, and even in stabilising our body whilst we do press-ups and pushes. Now we've done a foam roll technique as well for the lats, but with the lacrosse ball we can get in there a little bit more deep and work on some really deep knots, which there often are in the lats. I'm going to place the ball on the floor and set myself up in a very similar position to the foam roll version of this technique. One hand is going to hold onto the ball, finger and thumb, so I can guide it into the position that I want. I have my arm outstretched, and then on my side, so I'm resting on my hip, my top leg is going to be able to move and push me around if I need to. Now on the ball, it's a little bit more tricky to find a stable point because the ball can move around a little bit. This surface is nice and soft, so the ball kind of sinks into it and holds its position. But if you're on a shiny floor or a smooth floor, the ball might move around. Now I don't need to use an awful lot of my body weight. I certainly don't need to lean into this because there's enough weight from my body with gravity pushing it into the ball, and I'm just using my hand here and my elbow a little bit to pull the punch a little bit, to take some of that pressure, that weight off of the ball. And the fibres will run down towards the hip and towards the lower back, and you can almost feel those fibres, the direction of them as you're working across. So strumming across them, almost like my fingers are lined here, I'm working across like strumming guitar strings, and I'm just working in there slowly, comfortably as I can, to break up some of that matted, knotted tissue that can stick together through both inactivity and a lot of activity such as working out and so on. So anytime I need to move my hips, I can lift up, and we are working to sandwich the muscle tissue between the ball and between our rib cage. So go nice and carefully. You can use as much or as little pressure by virtue of this position, the hand, the elbow and the hip taking a fair bit of the weight off of the ball as needed. Just slowly working across, again, maybe an inch at a time, to break up and ease off, loosen off some of that tissue. And just as with our other techniques, it doesn't release. You don't feel that release until after the technique, as you get up and move your arm around, move your body around. The lats tie in the hips and the arm, as I say, so they can have quite far-reaching effects when they're tight down into the hips, the low back, and the shoulder and the arm, and even the spine as well. So it's a really good one to get into the habit of releasing, whether it's the foam roll or whether you go to the point of using the trigger ball as well. Alright, so coming up to standing, and I can feel if I reach my arm up and across and then go with the side I haven't released yet, again it just feels a bit more restriction, a bit more tightness pulling this arm, whereas I can reach and side bend with a bit more freedom. Now the area you want to focus on working is around about here. You place your hand underneath the arm like so. Anywhere where that hand sits, that's a good place to go. And that is our trigger point release for our lats.